What do you know about ADHD? Honestly, probably a lot. I mean, with hundreds of resources on the subject, you should probably have a pretty good idea on what ADHD entails. You might know it's a condition that develops in childhood and affects how a person handles impulsivity and attentiveness. You also might know that people with ADHD take stimulants to treat it. You, along with many others, probably think that people with ADHD procrastinate, are disorganized, easily distractive, and impulsive. Well, cool, you know the basics, but if you're extra knowledgeable, you'll know that ADHD can affect women much differently than it does men.
I think the biggest disparity has been happening for at least 40 years. So I'm in my 40s, and girls my age did not get appropriately diagnosed because they weren't disruptive or destructive. So what looked like anxiety or shyness or daydreaming was actually ADHD, but girls weren't diagnosed at the same rate boys were diagnosed back 30, 40 years ago. I think that is the biggest disparity, is that now women are getting diagnosed decades later than their male counterparts. And it's a disservice to them and their families.
Amy Quinn is a physician assistant at the Neurodivergence Consultants of Kansas. With over 25 years of healthcare experience and a lifetime of having ADHD herself, Amy's mission is to provide her community with support and guidance.
So they've linked it to a dopamine deficit. So is it whether you don't make enough dopamine or your brain doesn't suck up enough dopamine? Some people are genetically predispositioned to not have enough dopamine receptors. And so how we metabolize all of that in our brain centers dictates how well we are able to utilize executive functioning, pay attention to a singular task, and our motivation levels are all ruled by dopamine. You can easily make it through school and make A's and B's and make it through school, and you do just fine. You did make it. But at what cost to your self-esteem? At what cost to your relationships? It takes us longer to even complete tasks.
But maybe you knew all of that too. It seems like we know everything there is to know about ADHD, right? Why don't we ever hear about the symptom of ADHD paralysis that makes it feel impossible to get up and complete your tasks, even when you know you need to do them? Or the sudden feeling that all of your achievements were never actually earned? Or the intense mood swings that have no clear trigger? I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until my sophomore year of college, and even then, it only came from months and months of doing my own research. I would be skimming through the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or DSM, looking for something that matched what I was going through. I knew it wasn't just anxiety and depression like all of my therapists would suggest. Anything that I might perceive as negative immediately made me shut down. I just feel so overwhelmed by these emotions that I can't get myself to calm down or think rationally. I just get super self-conscious and insecure, which has come at the cost of the people around me. It just feels like I have no control over my emotions sometimes. I just keep asking myself, what is wrong with me?
What's wrong with me? Why can't I keep things organized? Why can't I get places on time? Why do I irritate everybody so much? No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't get a grip on it. In my 20s, I had 2 young daughters, and just trying to find that balance between driving them to their activities and working and relationships and housework, and balancing all of that was completely overwhelming for me. When other moms in the school, I saw them doing it with no problem.
I did very, very well in school, all the way up through high school. And then when I got to college, that's when things started to kind of drop off for me. I had a really hard time with the lack of structure, and nobody telling me exactly what I needed to do. So without that structure, I kind of fell apart.
I knew I was weird. I knew I've always been different. Every time I go up the stairs, not only am I ADHD, I'm also on the spectrum. I could always count the stairs as I'd go up. I always behaved different than everybody else. I knew something was different. It's so many things. It's not just, oh, you can't focus. It's not. It's a huge misconception.
The secret about ADHD is that for women like myself, we have a debilitating relationship with our emotions. Most commonly, we feel a drastic emotional pain from perceived rejection of others. In 2017, Dr. William Dodson coined the term rejection-sensitive dysphoria, or RSD, to describe this experience. In his paper, Emotional Regulation and Rejection Sensitivity, he notes how emotional symptoms of ADHD have been historically overlooked, and argues that RSD should be considered a symptom of ADHD.
People think ADHD is about grades. ADHD is not about grades. ADHD is about interpersonal relationships, the relationships we have with ourselves and the relationships we have with our families and our partners and our children. That emotional dysregulation just continues into adulthood. I don't think I have yet to meet a woman that has ADHD that has stopped her rejection sensitivity.
RSD has affected my relationship with my partner. It just feeds off my insecurities and self-worth. They are so compassionate towards me, but I just didn't think I deserved it. So any minute thing in my brain perceived as rejection or resentment, it just sent me into a spiral.
So I tell my children, my husband, if you notice that I have crap stacked on my dresser or stacked on my bedside table, I'm not okay. I've lost control. That's how you know. If I come to bed and I haven't washed my face, I've lost control. I am emotionally dysregulated. I'm not trying to make things hard. I'm just having a really hard time. And it sucks to try to explain that to somebody.
I feel physically in pain sometimes, depending on the severity of the situation. And I think that it all just starts in my chest and kind of goes from there.
I couldn't understand why I was willing to do things for friends or family members and they weren't willing to do the same for me.
It is definitely one of the most significant factors in the self-esteem of a woman with ADHD.
You would think with an issue that affects most people with ADHD, there would be more conversations and research on the subject. Rejection-sensitive dysphoria isn't even mentioned in the DSM-5.
Even if they were to change some of the diagnostic criteria or add in rejection sensitivity and those types of things, even we struggle to still get sensory processing disorders identified and diagnosed. And they're in the DSM and we still can't get people to diagnose them. So I don't know by changing anything if without money or a true purpose that any research will get done in that aspect. Research definitely follows money, and I don't know that women with ADHD are going to be at the top of that list for people overall.
I've always been told that I'm sensitive. I need to grow thicker skin. I can take criticism well. It's usually just me criticizing myself. People will say, well, just don't be so negative. Don't assume it's all about you. But they don't understand that that is how my brain works. Trust me, I wish I didn't care this much. But just like my name, I can't stop caring. And I can't stop the way I think. I can only control how I react to it.
Something that's been really helpful for me has been learning to do some brain dumping or journaling. I try to journal or brain dump even a couple sentences every day, and that way I'm able to really just let everything out onto the paper and just allow myself that space to reflect on how I'm feeling.
It makes it real. It makes it actionable instead of it just spinning. Brain dumps, that way you can get it out, again, on paper or a whiteboard, like I said. Those are my go-to.
Because ADHD doesn't go away. It doesn't just stop. We don't magically take a pill and it goes away. And so it has to be, the combinations of therapies and a lot of self-work.
I've also started the conversation with my friends and family. I've been trying to educate them on the subject so they have a better understanding of just what I go through. And of course, I'm trying to do right by my partner. After getting to meet all these incredible women, I just feel so empowered and seen. They talk about how important it is to find community with other neurodivergent people, and I never realized how important that was until I got to meet with them.
I am on the board at the Hive in Wichita. It is a female co-working space, and a majority of our members are neurodivergent, and we get to just be ourselves. You don't have to put on a facade that you're anything else. You don't have to pretend that you have your shit together. You get to come in there and just be yourself wholeheartedly. It is the greatest thing I've ever done. So I'm so glad I get to be a part of that, and I get to be around women that don't have to pretend to be anything else than themselves.
Even though I got to engage with my community and learn more about myself, there's a huge world out there with other women with ADHD who go through the same struggles as me, but with little access to those resources. There is so much more to learn about what we go through, and I'm not the only one with some ideas.
I wish that there was more focus on the comorbidities that come along with ADHD. Some of those can look like depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder. Like, there's just lots of different comorbidities that come along with ADHD that I think folks don't realize.
I would like there to be research on the ramifications of untreated ADHD. Women who have undiagnosed ADHD are more likely to have unplanned pregnancies. Oh, if a woman has an unplanned pregnancy due to her not being able to get her medications, she's the one who's then left with a whole morality of the consequences, right? Research really needs to be done so we can identify how to help those girls even when medication's unavailable. And what those ramifications really are in a numbers game, so we can make change. Because until we acknowledge that it's a problem, no one's ever gonna do anything.
You would think if we just had more conversations about the subject, more than just from the minute lens of fidgeting and procrastination, we can make a real difference on how we view emotional dysregulation and how to better understand it.
Lots of my friends, lots of my family, peers that I interact with, coworkers, it seems all know someone that has some sort of, that is on the neurodivergent population. So I think it's cool that we're all starting to kind of share and build that community together.
So what is wrong with me? The answer is nothing. Saying something is wrong means that it's incorrect or a mistake. But from the women I've talked to, I've learned that having ADHD is also a gift.
The group of us are highly intelligent and creative. 85% of women entrepreneurs are neurodivergent, and that says something. We are capable of doing multiple things at once.
I think neurodivergent people just do the right thing a lot more. So it's not that it's such a strong sense of justice, it's that, you know, we are trying to do the right thing, and we are very passionate about it.
It allows me to feel so much more and so much deeper than I think most people feel. So the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, like I get to experience it all, and I think it's really beautiful.
I like the fact that I am able to hyper-focus. I am able to relate to so many other people.
The only thing wrong is how we all, not just women with ADHD, perceive things. I've always viewed myself as sensitive or wearing my heart on my sleeve, but after all of this, I found better adjectives to describe myself. Passionate, dedicated, creative. I care a lot about the things I put into the world and the impact I make. I'm not saying it's easy to view ADHD as a positive. It isn't, and it definitely takes a lot of work to get it there. But it's just growing what you know. So, what do you know about ADHD?